Good morning all. I Hanumanthappa H, working as an assistant professor in IAC department at Nitte Institute of Technology. Today I am going to give a lecture on hybrid application development subject. In that I have chosen a concept called as Flutter forms and validation. In today's session I will be briefing about what is form, what is validation, how to create a form by using the text widgets as well as text buttons. Now, before going on to the form subject, we should understand what is form. Form is nothing but it's like a series of fields where user will be giving his username as well as user will be giving his the proper credentials like email ID, password. Once you give the proper credentials, you will be clicking on the button called as submit. If you click on the button called as submit, you will be able to log into the main page. Now to create a Google form, we are having some different functions like form function we are having a dispose function, we will be having the function called as text from field function. By using these functions, we will be able to create a form. Now, if I use the form function means automatically I will be able to create a Google form page. Next, user will be able to give his name and his email ID. If we give the proper name and email ID, then only you will be able to log into the main page, or else he cannot log into the main page. Next, I will be using the function called as dispose function. In the dispose function, what will happen? If I want to freeze up the memory, in that time I will be using the main function over here. If I don't use the dispose function, whatever user is given the name and email ID in the previous, same will be repeated. If I want to avoid the repetition, in that time I have to use the dispose function here. Next, I will be using the function called as form submission. In the form submission, what will happen means, once if I give the name and email ID, both are perfect, both are valid. In that time, I will be able to get the snack bar option. In the snack bar option, it's like a pop-up message. It will be showing as processing the data. It will take me to the next page. These are different parts of the Google form. These parts I will be explaining by giving the demonstration in the main application. This is my demonstration page. This is my demonstration page. Here what I did means I have used the app bar. By using the app bar, I have given a name called as simple form to the Google form, and here I am going to use two different fields. Now let me erase these name as well as email ID from the text editing button. Here I have used the two buttons over here. First one is about the edit text button. This also edit text. Here I can give my name. Here I can give my email ID. Now if I give the proper name and proper mail ID, then only I will be able to log in. If I don't give the proper credentials, it will be showing an error. Let me give a demo over here. Now I will be given the name as Hanumanthappa. This is my name. I have given the name tab. In the email ID, I will be just given anu@123. Some random email ID I have given over there. Now I will click on submit button. See here, I am not able to get any pop-up message over here. If I give the proper credentials, I will be getting the pop-up message. If I get the pop-up message, it will be showing that I have given the proper credentials over here. Now it is showing an error called as enter a valid email address. See here, this is completely about the validation. In the validation process, what will happen means name should not be null, as well as email ID should not be null, and email ID should be having the some regular expressions like proper mail ID should be given. I will be given nitte.edu. Now if I click on the submit button, now email ID is proper. If I give the proper email ID, it will be showing some message. The message can be called as snack bar over here. See here, whatever push-up message I am getting over here, that can be called as pop-up message. It will be showing as processing the data. This is how I will be creating the Google form. Now to create this Google form, I will be explaining the code step by step. There are 9 steps I will be following to create a Google form. The step 1 is about importing the material library. Here what will happen? I have to use the material app widget. I have to use the scaffold widget. Without using the widgets, I cannot create a Google form. To create a Google form, I have to use the widgets. For that reason, I have to import the material library. If I do not use that, I cannot create any applications over here. The second step is about I have to create a root widget. To create a root widget, the entry point of the code is about void main function. That's why I have used the step 2 called as main function. Here I will be creating a root widget. In the step 3, I have to create a class that's about the stateless widget. In the stateless widget, what will happen means page will be always static. It is not dynamic. Once if I created the stateless widget, the page cannot be changed. For that reason, I will be using the my class over here. In the step 4, what will happen? I have to create a class called as my custom form. Once if I create a class, for the particular class, I will be using the stateful widget. See here I will be using the stateless widget, but here I will be using the stateful widget. If I use the stateful widget, I will be able to create a new state. To create a new state, for the same name, I will be entering with the underscore of my custom form state. This is a new state I have created over there. Now if I give my name and email ID properly, I will be able to log into the next page. In the step 6, what will happen? I have to declare a controllers and form key. Controllers is nothing but name controllers will be there, email controllers will be there. I have to give a proper name. It should not be empty, it should not be null. And for the email also, I have to give the proper, it will be taken from the Google form key. Next, I have to use the disposing function. Means if I want to re-enter the name, I have to use the dispose function. It is used to create a space in a Google form. In the step 8, what will happen means if I give the proper name and USN or proper name and email ID, it will take us to the next page. In that time, I will be getting the pop-up message. The pop-up message can be called a snack bar as I show in the demonstration. If I give the name and email ID is proper means I will be getting some pop-up message. That pop-up message can be called as snack bar. The snack bar comes under in the step 8. In the step 9, what will happen means I will be building the form. Now, whatever steps I have explained, based upon steps I have written the code over here. As I told in the step 1, we have to import the libraries, right? The library called as material.dart. This library will be importing. If I don't import this material.dart, I cannot create any Google form because scaffold will be there, material app will be there, as well as app will be there. Many widgets will be depending on the material.dart. It is the main library. Next, as I told in the step 2, we will be creating the main function. In the main function, we will be in the run app. In the run app, I will be creating the my app function. This is a root widget. Without root widget, we cannot create a Google form here. Here I have created the root widget called as my app. Now, as I told, I will be importing the material.dart. In the material.dart, it holds material app, it will be holding the scaffold, it will be holding the app bar. These are the different widgets held by material.dart. Now by using these widgets, I am going to write a app bar that's about a simple form as shown in the Google form. As shown in the Google form, here we got a name called a simple form. This simple form will be written under the app bar in the code. Now, I will be giving the spaces for name and email ID as well as for the text button. To give a spacing, I will be using the padding function. If I use the padding function means to the entire, all the directions like from left, from right, from bottom, from top, everywhere I can give the directions over here. The direction is about 16 pixels I have given over there. That's about padding of edge insets in dot all. In that I have given the 16 pixels. Next one is about next one is about I will be creating a class called as my custom form. In the my custom form, I will be creating a new state. That's about underscore my custom form. In this new state, I am going to import this class. That's what about my custom form. After that, I will be using the name controller to give the user name. I will be using the email controller to give the user email ID. For that, I will be using the functions called as text editing controller functions. And as I told, we will be using the dispose function. If you don't use the dispose function, memories will be not freeze up. If you want to freeze up the memory, this function plays a major role. Or else, the existing username and name as well as email ID will be shown over here. Next, I will be using the function called as submit function. Once I give the name and email ID, I have to click on the submit function. Once if I click on the submit function, it is going to validate the name and email ID. After validation, it is going to give a pop-up message. The pop-up message can be called as snack bar. In the snack bar, I will be getting a message called as processing the data. As I told in the name, email, we have to give properly in the editing controllers. And as I told, without form function, I cannot create any forms. And if any user wants to give his name and user ID, he has to use the form key. In the form key, it will be collects the user inputs. Next, I will be using the text form field. That's about the name. To check the name, I will be using the validator. Name should not be null. We have to enter some data. If you give the particular data, it will be taken. If it is null or if it is empty, means that time it will be taking the null, or else it will be showing please enter your name. Next, I will be validating the email address over here. To validate the email address, we are having the particular condition. Always condition should be string, concatenation symbol, @string dot concatenation symbol string. This is the particular format for email ID. If I give the particular format, then only I will be able to log into the next page, or else I cannot log into the next page. At last, as I discussed, we will be using the elevated button. See here, there are different types of buttons are available in the Flutter application, like text button is there, floating by action button is there, elevated button is there. Out of those buttons, I will be using the elevated button. If I click on the elevated button, means it will be showing the shadow to tap on the button. Here I use the elevated button, and on the elevated button I use the text called as submit button. Once if I click on the submit button, user will be able to log into main page. This is how we will be creating the Google form. After creating the Google form, we will be validating the Google form whether the user will be given particular credentials or not. Yes, hope all of you enjoy the session. Thank you all.